race fans, and welcome to round one of the Player1 GT Championship, sponsored by Player1, the proud and official sponsor of the MotorMotion GT3 Championship. Player1 Sim Gear was created by sim enthusiasts for sim enthusiasts. They're Melbourne-based and 100% Australian-owned and operated. When they launched Player1, they set out to create an online destination for racers and flight simmers, not to mention sim farmers, sim space pilots, sim truckers, and all other kinds of sim fans. To shop for all the best hardware, brands at the best price, make sure you check out www.p1simgear.com.au, the proud sponsors of the MotorMotion E-Series for the GT3 Championship. Hello everyone, we are pre-race at the moment. The practice lobby is here. We are starting to see some cars filter out onto the track. This is going to be a very exciting series here in round one. We saw all of that lovely footage from the pilot in that nice little introductory video that we saw there. It was absolutely fantastic to have been a part of that myself, and I can't wait to see what these guys managed to do here tonight. We can see quite a few teams starting to get their cars on track, ready for round one. It's going to be a really challenging race here. We're at Nurburgring GP in Germany. This is going to be a 60-minute endurance race. There is a mandatory tyre, which is the racing medium. So whether they start on it or swap to it during the race, they must be used. Otherwise, drivers will incur a very hefty penalty. The track distance here is 5.1 kilometers long. These drivers are going to have 13 turns to navigate. And as we said, they're going to be at it for an hour. So we're looking to probably see around 30, 31 laps, possibly more. These guys in the Group A lobby are the elite and pro drivers. So they will be competing for the Platinum and Gold Championships respectively. These guys are absolutely lightning fast. As we jump out onto the field now during the practice to have a little bit of a look at some of these liveries that these guys have created. We're on board here with Slapper's mate, 117. Racing around in the Jag, which is for WTC-Racing. Slappers is their elite driver. Very high caliber racer. As we go down through the field, we've got Burke's Boy, a late entry for the NED Racing team. He was set up to be a privateer, but he has managed to secure himself a slot in the teams. They are in the Aston Martin down there at the NED Racing camp, and that pushes him into the pro slot. So all the best. Hopefully he's had enough time in the car to get used to it. Something different to what he was practicing, so this will be quite an interesting race for him. We wish him all the best. Kez Audio now for Scarborough Motorsport. They are in the 911, the Porsche. This is going to be a very good car to watch out for around here on this track. Very good strengths. Kez is also their pro driver, so he'll be taking it up, going against that NED racer that we've just seen. A couple of cars still in the pits ready to exit. As we jump back out to the main lobby, we'll have a look at some of the drivers, and we'll cut shortly for a Player1 ad. So sit back, enjoy, and we'll see you soon.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
Alrighty guys, so we do have quite a little bit of time before the qualifying starts. It's going to be quite an interesting track for these guys. The lap starts with one of the slowest corners on the track. It's very tricky to get it right, partly because the braking zone is all downhill, which is going to increase the likelihood of these guys locking up. Interestingly, there is a few different lines that drivers will take. Some drivers would like to try and stay really tight, clip the apex, while some other drivers will be much as about a car width wide of that first corner. Regardless of the line, making a mistake in turn 1 is going to cost you a lot of time. It's one of those parts of the track that you really need to get the power down early so you can set yourself up. It's basically a make or break for your lap, essentially, getting that first corner right. It's also going to be one of the main overtaking areas because you've got that long straight across the start-finish line. So from the moment that you exit turn 1, you don't ever really have the steering wheel straight through the following sequences of corners because each one flows into the next. So you're going to want to avoid compromising your entry into a corner. You're going to need to quickly move over to the right-hand side of the track to open up your entry for turn 2, and then that's going to feed you into turn 3, which is a very tight left-hander. By maintaining a tight line through that turn, you can take advantage of a wider entry for turn 4, maximise your power onto the exit of the corner, where historically drivers have pushed track limits by running wide on the exit. There is a lot of track that you can use before you will get a penalty, but some guys can take that a little bit too wide too early and score themselves about a half-second penalty, which is going to be detrimental to their lap time. As we move through into turn 5, it's a 5th gear left-hander, but it corners, but like the corners before it, you've got to think carefully about how much speed you want to carry through it, because this is the next exit that you're going to be immediately able to get over to the left side of the track to maximise the entry. Now, if we jump on board with someone, we'll see if we can get a bit of a run through, so we're not just talking about it blind. Chuck up some information for you there as well. So we're on board here with Ando from Gridline Racing. These guys are in the BMW. Should be quite a strong car around here. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, so Ando's now on the fastest part of the track. He's on the main straight. He's about to go past the start-finish line. And here we go. Up to the 100 board, heavy on the brakes. Now, does he tuck it in real tight? Yes, he does. Gets on the power nice and early. Ooh, there's a little bit of a slide out of there, but he's kept it quite well. Now, like we said, all of this basically links up. You don't have the steering wheel straight for quite a considerable amount of time. Very tight left-hander, runs it out wide so we can take a more powerful exit out and get that power down. So really, that's a very technical part of this track. It's going to be make or break for a lot of drivers to whether they can get a good lap time or not. Now, qualifying is going to start with 60% of a fuel tank, which means these guys are going to go out light, hungry and fast, ready to really slap down some aggressive lap times. As we can see in the practice session so far, Captain Muffin has already slapped down a challenge of a 154.1. Wow. It's absolutely fantastic. Look at these guys go. Ando piecing together a really nice lap here on his practice. He's slightly up on his best time so far. Heavy braking zone. Bounces over the curb. Oh, doesn't that car sound spectacular? So ladies and gentlemen, don't fret, this is not the race, this is just practice session 1. We will be with you soon with the qualifying. It's not too far away. I believe some of the guys might be just going through a bit of roll call at the moment, making sure everyone's there. I believe might have just had a driver ending up having to leave the lobby and come back in. So we'll just stay with that, make sure everyone's here before the race starts. I'll run through the drivers that will be in this championship. So we will have Wade Von Doon in the elite category, racing for WTC-Racing. His counterpart will be Aussie Hypnotic in the pro category, which will be competing for the Gold Championship. We've got Scarborough Motorsport's entries of Cyric and Kez Audio. That's their elite and pro driver respectively. Black Rose Racing has entered Captain Muffin and Scotty1230. NED Racing will have HC Lewis and Burks Boy. Gridline Racing will have Ando787 and GLR Scotty. Diffusion will have Rolskin Hardley and Big Bruce the Shark. Of course, we've got Strike Team Racing in their Mercedes. We'll have Pearsy and Sir Dids. That will be our field for the A lobby. We will go through that field once qualifying starts. We'll keep all the action there for you live as we get ready to go underway in the very first round of the MotorMotion Player1 GT3 Championship. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have got confirmation. Qualifying will be starting in another 15 minutes. So as we get ready for this inaugural event, this is going to be really exciting. We can see most of the lobby is here in the practice session now as we have a quick sticky beak down through the field of the drivers that are on track. We've got Scotty 1230 in that Mercedes for Black Rose Racing. He is going to be a driver to keep an eye on. He is a very, very fast man. He is in the pro category tonight, so he will be behind his partner in the lineup of Captain Muffin, who is a very fast driver in his own regard, that is for sure. Absolutely blitzing the TCR series in the pilot that we had earlier this year. So that will be a driver pairing to watch out for tonight. Really looking forward to it. We have another 15 minutes before qualifying will get underway. Apologies, I may have started just a slight bit early, but we've got plenty of things that are going to be happening once this race starts. So make sure you get yourself comfortable at home. Things are just starting to wind up here in Germany. We are at round 1 Nurburgring on the Grand Prix circuit. What's going to be interesting here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is there is a required tyre, the racing medium. So whether these drivers start on them or change to them, they will need to be used at least for one lap around here. Otherwise, these drivers will incur a hefty penalty. Fantastic liveries on show as we move down to the Diffusion entry now of Big Bruce the Shark. These guys are going to be pushing that BMW as fast as they can. That 999, this is his first ever appearance in a MotorMotion series. It'll be really interesting to see how he goes. We've heard lots of good things about Bruce, so let's wish him the best of luck tonight in his first event at the MotorMotion GT3 series, sponsored by Player1 SimGear. We've got a privateer on track as well. This is a late entry. It's just been sorted out today. So Morgan Davey will be taking up that privateer slot. So all the best for him in the Mercedes. Wishing him a very good drive. We'll wait and see what he manages to pull out for qualifying, which isn't too far away. Not a lot of drivers on track at the moment. Most drivers actually into the pits. Jump back out and just have a quick look at all of the drivers on the field. It might be a little bit easier to see them here on the side. So we've got HC Lewis, Captain Muffin, Ando, Rolls Can Hardly, Morgan Davey, as we just mentioned, the new privateer, Slappers Mate, Burks Boy, Kez Audio, Big Bruce the Shark, GLR Scotty, Scotty 1230, and Aussie Hypnotic, who hasn't entered his car out of the garage yet, but he is down there on track. They're just keeping that car inside their team garage, probably maybe doing some last minute adjustments to get some extra speed into the car. They might be doing some tuning, or maybe they could just be signing autographs, who knows. We'll just have to wait and see. Looks like a few drivers might be still making their way down into pit lane. Might be short just a couple of drivers. We've only got another 10 minutes until qualifying starts, so they'll want to get down here as quickly as they can. We're really proud to have Player1 SimGear as our sponsor today. For the entire series, actually. These guys have jumped on board and shown us a massive amount of support for what we do. If you're into sim racing, these guys are literally your one-stop shop. They have absolutely everything, and honestly, they really hope that you like their website. So if you do have any feedback, please let them know. If there's any gear that you want that they don't currently stock, they will do their best to go out and find it for you. So just make sure you get in contact with them. If there's something that you're interested in, you don't see it on their website, doesn't mean that they can't get it. These guys are absolutely fantastic. They're passionate about giving back and supporting the local flight and sim racing communities that make this hobby so rewarding for all of us. They've happily chipped in to help provide a prize for each division driver champion. There is a voucher of the value up to a set of racing gloves at the end of the season for the respective winner of each championship. So the elite drivers will be in the Platinum Championship, the pro drivers will be in the Gold Championship, Pro-Am will be in the Silver Championship, and the amateur drivers will be competing in the Bronze Championship. So we wish all of our drivers across both lobbies the absolute best. Hopefully they can do really well in round one and get some really crucial points on the board. Hopefully win themselves a voucher from Player1 Sim Gear themselves. Maybe update something, get something a little bit new for their setups at home. Literally, if you haven't been there yet, make sure you jump onto the website. They have absolutely everything. They are fantastic. It's at www.p1simgear.com.au.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
Race fans, this will be the final time we go through this intro at the start. Commentators for this lobby will be myself. We are at Nurburgring in Germany with the mandatory tyre of the mediums, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. As we now get back to the action, qualifying is just about to start. We've got about another minute before qualifying will kick off. I'm extremely excited about this series. This is going to be one of the most intense, fast, close racing I think that we have seen in the MotorMotion series. This is round one and I have massive high hopes for this series to be the absolute best, brought to you live here by myself on YouTube. Lobby B will also be there on Twitch, so make sure that you jump onto our Facebook page. All of the links are there. You can make sure you watch the guys live on Twitch. Their video will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, so if you're watching one and you're still worried about the other, don't worry, you will be able to watch them both. They will come up onto the YouTube as of tomorrow. This one will be here. Right now we are broadcasting live. Once this live ends, it will buffer and then be available for you guys to watch back at your own leisure. I don't know about you guys, but I am absolutely excited. This is going to be so much fun. Make sure you drop some comments. We can have a little bit of interaction as we go through this race together and watch all of the things unfold. Qualifying should be very close to being underway. So we'll jump out onto the track one last time. Have a bit of a look at the guys. As we can see, they are probably going through their roll call right now. Not many cars on track at all. Just going to be absolutely awesome, guys. I cannot wait. This is one of the most challenging tracks. Here we go as qualifying is getting ready to be underway. All right, just bear with me, race fans. As we see Scotty, the first out of the pits, he wants to get clear and set his time. These guys are going to have to be very careful as they come out now on cold tyres. We expect to see the entire field on the racing softs to set their absolute optimal time around here. Be interesting to see how many of these guys between qualifying and the actual race will swap onto mediums or whether they decide to start on softs. I'm pretty sure the front half of the qualifiers are probably going to start on softs, try and make a bit of a gap on those medium using guys, set a little bit of space between themselves and then use the mediums. Swap back to the softs possibly. The other thought too is, do they just do 2 stints on mediums, or will they do a stint on mediums and 2 stops on the softs? So they're the 2 strategies that we're expecting to see, but anything could happen. We've been proven wrong many a time here in the commentary box, where these guys love to do lots of different exciting techniques as they go flying around the track. So Scotty will be the first to set a time. As we go down through the field, we've got Sir YC in the Porsche. That will be a very strong car around here until the tyres degrade. So we will have to pay close attention to the tyre wear on these cars as they go around as well. Now, a lot of you might have noticed already that yes, these cars have started with 60% fuel in the qualifying. Come the actual race, they will have a full set of fuel, so they are slightly lighter for the qualifying, which will allow them to get a very competitive lap time. As we see Sir YC getting quite close to the back of Scotty on his qualifier. They're getting ready to go hot this time here, so we'll keep an eye out across the times. We might even stay on board here with Scotty and Sir YC, see what sort of times they set as we'll go down through the field after they set their first time. So heavy on the brakes into turn 1. You can see it looks like a little bit of lag on board there with Scotty. So we might try and watch this from Sir YC's perspective. That is, of course, Xavier Hosking, racing there for Scarborough Motorsport in the Porsche. Like we mentioned a little bit earlier, you pretty much don't have the wheels straight for the first half of this track. After you get that first deep right turn in, it's pretty much all just one turn after the other. One mistake can throw you off for the next set of turns, and then it's pretty much lap time over. But these guys look like they're pushing the cars quite hard. Their tyres will still need to take a little bit of time to warm up, so I'd be expecting to see a lot of the other drivers sort of just taking it easy on this sort of first flying lap and start to put down their real lap times, maybe 1 or 2 laps into it. So we've got a fair bit of time here for the qualifying session, I do believe. Can't see a timer anywhere. Move back up to our front 2 runners. We'll get their first time and we will then follow down the field and see how everyone's done on their first flying lap. So of course we've got Scotty in the Mustang there for Black Rose Racing, his first flying lap as he comes across the line. Very nice tidy exit out of that corner. Be some good speed there in the Merc. He's done a 155. Not to be outdone, Sir YC's not that far behind, but Ando now has the fastest lap time, moving himself up into first place with a 153. HC Lewis responds. I've tried to run down through the field, but of course these guys are jumping up and down as they go across the line. So we've just seen HC Lewis come across, back into the pits already. But wow, what a time! A 153 on his first flyer. That's quick. Ando there with the second fastest time with a 154. Captain Mufton right behind him, 154.9. Scotty with the 155. Slappers a 155. It's quite tight across the top half of the field so far, and this is just their first flying lap. These guys will get faster and faster as each one of these laps goes on. So we might jump on board here with Pearsey for Strike Team Racing. See what he can pull out for his second flying lap. Lovely silver Coca-Cola livery there. Nick Pearce. Oh, as he runs wide into the dirt. That's going to be his lap over. He'll probably move to the side and let the guy behind him get a clean run. Unfortunate. As we can see, Aussie Hypnotic barreling down on the back of Pearsey here. Won't be Pearsey's best time, unfortunately, grabbing a fair bit of sand on that exit. Hopefully Aussie can put together a good time. They are in the Jag. So, a couple of different cars across the field. We've got Porsches, Mercs, Aston Martins, Jaguars, BMWs. It's going to be a very interesting race. Interesting enough though, don't see... No, there was no McLarens like we saw in the Pilot Series at all for this series in round one. It was dropped and not picked up again as we see HC Lewis set a new fastest time. Wow, look at him go. Okay, can't seem to jump through the field like you can with a replay, unfortunately. The new fastest lap from HC Lewis with a 153.528. As you see him getting out of the way for some of the other drivers. Must not be on a hot lap at the moment. YC pushing his time into the 53s as well with a 53.9 on his second flyer. That's very quick there in the Porsche. Still got a fair bit of time remaining here in the qualifying session. Captain Muffin not running faster than his previous best time. We've got Slappers here in fourth with Rolls. It's only 0.004 split off him. So this is a very close field from top to bottom so far as we're moving through. Does Slappers goes faster? No, he's not on a hot lap at all. Rolls unfortunately off into the dirt, waiting patiently for the field to go past. Got Morgan Davey, the privateer, out there in the Merc, listening to that car, absolutely rumbling as he makes his way through turn, I think it was turn 7 or 8 just then. A bit hard to pick up where they all are. So many cars on the track as we see Ando set a new personal best for himself. Davey running up on his faster time as we start to see some of the drivers now heading into the pits while they've got that lighter tank of fuel. So as we move up, we can see Captain Muffin putting on some new shoes. He's going to go out with a lighter tank, a little bit more grip, and see if he can get some more time out of that Merc for Black Rose Racing. And we can see HC Lewis into the pits. He's got 60% fuel remaining, so he must have come in earlier, possibly, and maybe overfilled a bit, because they do start qualifying with 60, so we'll have to wait and see what happened there. So currently, as it stands, we've got HC Lewis with the fastest time so far, Sir YC in second place, Captain Muffin in third, we've got Morgan Davey in fourth, Slappers Mate in fifth, Rolls Can Hardly there in sixth place, unfortunately picked up a 3-second penalty. That will be for going across the pit lane line, so you've got to be very careful. That will punish you here. We've got Ando in 7th place. Wow, I would have expected to see him up at the front of the field. This guy is absolutely fast as lightning, which just goes to show you the caliber of drivers here. He's racing in the elite category, so we will expect to see a faster time from him possibly towards the end of this racing session, the qualifying session, as that fuel starts to deplete out of that BMW. We've got Scotty 1230 there in 8th place for Black Rose Racing. Aussie Hypnotic has set his time and he's made his way back to the pits. He's currently in 9th place with Pearsey in 10th, also with a pit line penalty. Kez Audio might have just copped a little bit of too much on one of the exits there. He's got a half-second penalty, so it'll be pushing the car a little bit too wide across the lines in the Porsche for Scarborough Motorsport. We've got GLR Scotty coming back in for a new set of shoes right now to set a faster time. He's currently in 12th. Oh no, down to 13th as we see D-Bomb jump up the field quite considerably. Big Bruce the Shark sitting in 14th at the moment during this part of the qualifying session, and Sir Dids rounding out our field with a 156.3 in that Mercedes. He's just coming into the pits now. He's depleted a bit of fuel out of that car. Got some new shoes making their way onto that Mercedes for Strike Team Racing. We expect to see a really good time. We can see he's got a little bit of damage to repair, so that will leave him in the pits for a little bit longer, but I think he's got plenty of time to get another couple of laps under his belt before we go underway racing at round 1 here. Currently the fastest man on track is HC Lewis for NED Racing in the Aston Martin with a 153.528. We'll jump on board with him and get a personal tour around the Nurburgring GP and see how it's done, because this guy is absolutely flying at the moment, the fastest man on track, for now at least. You see a lot of drivers will run wide here, but that's not actually going to cop you the penalty. You need to go a fair bit wider than that. You see he didn't quite go as fast as his bet split, so he might have lost a little bit of time. It's very close though. Pulling the car in nice and tight for the corners, lots of maximum power on the way out. You see he's running just on half a tank at the moment. He's also got a new set of wheels on this car. Maximise the grip as he starts to warm up the tyres. Give this Aston Martin everything that it's got, because he wants to set an even faster time. HC Lewis is very competitive and he likes to put down very quick times. Keeping the car nice and tidy. Using all of the road, making sure he gets maximum use of the curbs. Heavy on the brakes, and down to first, in through the chicane, onto the gas. Expect to see him pulling quite tight. Oh, he's burning fuel here, okay. So that's why we saw him going slower before. He is burning a bit of fuel, so he wants to try and put down a lightning fast time, I believe. As we go down through the field, we've got Sir YC there in the Porsche. See if he's currently up on his time coming through. Second sector he'll be up to, where we get to see. Oh! Did you see that Porsche get out nice and sideways? Yeah, no, I didn't think we'd see him up on his time after that big slide. Captain Muffin, so he's there in 3rd place. Only 600th off our fastest lap of the race so far. So these guys, like I've said before, absolute best of the best drivers around in the sim racing category, and these guys are going to put on a fantastic show for you once qualifying does end. Muffin slightly up on his best time. It will be enough to catch Sir YC, I believe, so we'll just have to stay on with Muffin for the end of this lap and see if he can go a little bit faster. Might take him up to 2nd place. Pushing the car and... he's done it, so he's up to 2nd place now with a 153.693. So there we go. We've got 2 cars in the 53 so far. Sir YC, he's also in the 53, so that's the top 3 into the 153s, with Ando now in 4th at the 150. These guys are flying. I tell you what, I could not be doing these sort of times myself. I like to think I'm quick, but I'm not an alien, not like these guys. These guys are absolutely lightning fast tonight. As we can see there, that's that corner where the guys can really maximise all of that track, not cop the penalties. So there's a lot more racing room available there. And these guys know all about it, being the elites and pros in the series, racing in the Platinum and Gold Championships respectively. Looking back to Captain Muffin from Ando at the moment. We can see that Player1 sim gear on the back wing. Player1 sim gear is the proud sponsors of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Player1 sim gear was created by sim enthusiasts for sim enthusiasts. They are a Melbourne-based and 100% Australian-owned and operated company. When they launched Player1, they set out to create an online destination for racers and flight simmers, not to mention sim farmers, sim space pilots, sim truckers and all other kinds of sim fans to shop for all the best hardware brands at the best price. So make sure you visit www.p1simgear.com.au. As we see another change, we've got Sir YC answering back to Captain Muffin. He's gone faster again now as well with a 153.599. That puts him just 0.094 ahead of Captain Muffin. So that is, wow, what a challenge. Muffin gonna put a little bit more fuel in, another set of shoes. Will he have enough time to get another fresh lap in, or will qualifying end before he gets out and around on that out lap? We'll have to stay tuned. These guys are pulling all the punches right now, trying to dominate. Who is going to be the pole sitter? At the moment, HC Lewis has held that number one spot for a long time, as we see him making his way to the pits as well. We've got Sir YC in second, Captain Muffin in third, Scotty in fourth place with a very, very close Ando on his heels. Half a second in the top five. Absolutely unheard of. This is going to be a great race once we get underway. Really good to see these guys have been giving each other some really good space so far throughout this qualifying session. Haven't seen too many cars bunched up. As we go down through the field, we can see the privateer Morgan now making his way around in sixth place. Slappers in seventh. Just trying to jump to where some of these packs are, just to see if we can see how close some of these guys are getting to each other here in the qualifying session. But it's not jumping up and down through the field the way I would like. We'll just have to stay on board with the times and jump to the next fastest driver as we go through. Slappers mate in that Jag. That car was suspected to be the absolute race favourite across all of the drivers. It was a very comfortable car to drive, so would expect to see these guys pull off some fantastic driving here tonight for WTC Racing. Oh, as we see a driver off to the side there, I believe that was Drew with the NED Racing team. I just pulled out of the way for another driver not being on a hot lap. Might be the last of our elite drivers at the moment. Kez Audio coming in. Kez looks to be the first of the pro drivers so far that I've seen in the list. I will have to jump back up to the top and go through. A little bit difficult to see where everyone is at the moment, as we see another car post at 153. These guys are aliens. So first so far in the Elite Series is HC Lewis. Second for the Elite drivers is Sir YC. Privateer, so he's got a Pro-Am sticker on the car, but I'm assuming he is a pro driver, possibly maybe an Elite Privateer. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to come back to you with the answers for that one. but he's either going to be the first of the pro drivers so far in qualifying, or he'll be third in the elite category. We'll just have to come back to you and update you with what category he's actually ended up in. Captain Muffin in third place, we'll say third place for now, in the elite series. Ando, fourth place in the elite drivers, so the platinum series. Scotty, the first of the pro drivers, so for his category in the gold championship, he will have respective pole for his group at this point in time. And he's actually ahead of another elite driver, Slapper's mate, so he's doing fantastic as we see that final lap come on. So that means the time is up. These guys will finish their laps that they are on at the moment, and that will be qualifying done and dusted. Got Rolls, another elite driver, so Scotty doing quite well there for the pros segment so far. Head of 2 elite drivers, 3 elite drivers, as we've got Piercy down. Kez Audio there will be our second pro driver, and Sir Dids will be the third pro driver that we have. Berserk Boy currently in 4th for his category. Aussie in 5th. GLR Scotty in 4th. And Bruce rounding out the segment for the pro drivers in the gold championship. That's the qualifying as it sits at the moment. We've seen HC Lewis come across the line. I believe that means he's finished. He's done his last lap. Sir YC, this will be his last chance to go faster. He's very close to that time so far. Really pushing that Porsche with everything he's got. Will he be able to stick it to HC Lewis and take that pole away from him? As we come through the final couple of chicanes, as we see the Porsche get a little bit bent out of shape, coming over those bumps. Really took a little bit too much curb, got the car a little bit sideways. That'll hurt his time, but has he done enough? Comes across the line. No, he's braked right out of it. He's just didn't quite make it, unfortunately. Might have lost a little bit too much time there. As we see, most of the drivers have finished now. We can see their hazards on. Trying to see if we've got anyone else still going around setting their final time. I believe that is qualifying done and dusted. Wow, well done, race drivers. So that puts HC Lewis on pole for round 1 of the GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. Wow, that was fantastic to watch. These guys are absolute freaks. I don't know how they managed to go that quick. As we look down through the times across the drivers, HC Lewis in first place with a massive 153.5 in that V12 Vantage. Sir YC with a 153.599, so hardly anything in it between the two. We've got Morgan Davey in third place. We'll have to come back to you with what category that he actually is in, whether he's part of elite or pro. So he will either be third or first in his category. We'll have to bring that back to you. But as far as the grid will be set, he will be starting in third place. Captain Muffin for Black Rose Racing, he's there with a 153.6. Wow, there's absolutely nothing in it between these guys. Very, very close times. It's going to be a very, very good race to watch. As we see Ando in 5th, Scotty in 6th, Slappers in 7th, Rolls can hardly in 8th place. And as we go down through the remainder of the grid, we have Piercy in 9th, Kez Audio in 10th, Sir Dids in 11th, Berserk Boy in 12th, Aussie Hypnotic in 13th, GLR Scotty in 14th, and rounding out our field today is Big Bruce the Shark. And I can tell you this, right now, every single one of these drivers is about 3 seconds faster than me around here tonight. That is absolutely amazing stuff. What an effort. It's going to be really good to see how this race unfolds. HC Lewis grabbing pole. Wow, what a qualifying session. The drivers will have a quick break before we come back with race 1 underway. I believe it's about a 5-minute break, so stay tuned. If you need to get comfortable, get yourself a drink, now's the time to do it. As we jump over to a quick sponsor ad from Player1 SimGear.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 SimGear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 SimGear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 SimGear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 SimGear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 SimGear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 SimGear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 SimGear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 SimGear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 SimGear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 SimGear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
So for those of you that are just joining us, we are here at round 1 of the MotorMotion GT3 series sponsored by Player1 SimGear. We have just finished qualifying. The grid is now set for the first round of the series. We are here in Germany at the Nurburgring GP. The race will be 60 minutes long. It's an endurance race. It's afternoon here on track. There will be a mandatory tyre, which is the racing medium, so these guys will either be starting on this tyre or swapping to it through the race. Otherwise they will pick up quite a hefty penalty. The track distance here is 5.1 kilometres long. All of these drivers will have 13 turns to navigate each time as they make their way around the GP track for 1 hour. This is probably going to work out to be about, based off their their lap times, probably about 31 to 32 laps. These guys are absolutely flying here in the qualifying session. As we can see their lap times there on screen, our pole sitter with a 153.5. Absolutely mental. A different breed of sim racer these guys are here. And of course our sponsor Player1 SimGear, where you can literally have your one-stop shop for everything sim racing, even flight sims. So make sure you guys check them out at www.p1simgear.com.au, the proud sponsors of the MotorMotion E-Series. These guys have been kind enough to chip in and help provide a prize for each divisional driver, a voucher up to the value of a set of racing gloves at the end of the season. So HC Lewis must be absolutely raring to go. He wants those gloves because he's set the challenge out to the rest of the field with that pole position. And I believe Scotty also will be the lead of the pro drivers in the Gold Series. So those two really looking forward to getting their hands on some vouchers from Player1 Sim Gear. We'll have to wait and see how the rest of the season goes because we are only at round 1 of 10. So we're going to start here in Germany at the GP track, and then in round 2 on the 28th of March, these drivers will make their way over to Monza, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it looks like a driver has just exited the room, so maybe there's a little bit of lag or glitch going on in the lobby. I'm sure they'll sort that out and manually set the grid. These guys, after round 2 at Monza, they will make their way to Circuit de Spa for round 3. That will be on the 4th of April. And then, of course, on to Barcelona for round 4 on the 11th. There will be a bit of a break there for Easter, so round 5 will be a little bit delayed, and that will be at Laguna Seca on the 2nd of May. Watkins Glen will be the 6th round in the series on the 16th of May, and of course round 7 will be at Daytona International Raceway on the 30th of May. That will take us up to round 8 at Suzuka on the 13th of June, and then Autopolis International Racing Circuit, also in Japan, for round 9 on the 27th of June. And then, of course, the grand finale, we've got to bring it home for round 10, and that will be at Mount Panorama on the 11th of July. So if you guys are looking for any more additional information, make sure you look in the description. We have all the links to the MotorMotion website, the Facebook page, and everything that you need to know sim racing will be there. So make sure you check it out. It's going to be a really fantastic series. We will bring you all the action live here on YouTube for the Lobby A series. Hopefully through the next couple of rounds I will have the main lead commentator with me, which will be Nick Patasso, the golden voice, the man, the myth, the legend himself, will be in the commentary box with me, making all the calls much better than I can, that's for sure. So he is currently overseas, and we look to see, hopefully have him back by round 2, but we'll just have to wait and see. As we talk about the teams that are in the competition at the moment, so we've got Scarborough Motorsport. Their two main sponsors is JB Hi-Fi and Nulon. It's going to be really good. Ooh, what have we lost just here? The guys are just fixing up some settings, manually setting the grid. So those guys are going to be really hard to beat on this track, I believe. We saw Sir YC punch out a really, really close time to HC Lewis in that Porsche. The car should be quite strong around this track. And of course we've got Black Rose Racing in the GT3 series as well. They are in the Mercedes. Their two sponsors, their main sponsors, will be Inky and Chill Out. So they will be a team to keep your eye on. We've also got WTC Racing in the Jaguar. That was a very popular car choice for most of the guys, but we do only see one on this grid. One team with that car on the grid. Their two sponsors is Goodyear and Mobile One. So some very good sponsorship from those guys. Of course, we've got NED Racing in the Aston Martin. We saw HC Lewis take pole. Their two sponsors is NED Whiskey and Penrite. We've got Diffusion Race Engineering in the BMW with their sponsors of Spotify and Fuchs, and Gridline Racing also in the BMW. So there'll be two teams running the BMW here tonight, and we've got, of course, their main sponsors of Valvoline and Bosch. And then, of course, Strike Team Racing. We've got their main sponsors of Strike and Ricardo, a team to watch out for in that Mercedes. And of course, there is a privateer on the track at the moment, which is Morgan Davey, also in a Mercedes. We wish all of the drivers the absolute best for tonight. It's going to be some very close racing. It's very, very, very complicated track. I can't seem to make it work for myself, but these guys have all got it down with not much between first and last. in that qualifying session. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. Of course, we've got the 7 teams, 4 drivers per team, and 1 privateer per lobby, which will be Group A and Group B. The way they're split is the elite and pro drivers will be in Group A, while the pro-am and am drivers will be in Group B. There are the 4 championships on the line. We've got the platinum for the elite drivers, the gold championship for the pro drivers, silver for the pro-am drivers, and of course the bronze championship for the am drivers. These guys are going to be absolutely battling it out all season to make sure that they can stay on top of that ladder. Make sure you jump onto the MotorMotion website to get all of the live, most up-to-date information and look at the teams' ladders and their drivers' profiles. As we take a short break as we wait for round 1 to get underway.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today.
Alright, here we go as we get ready to go. Green light racing. The cars are on the grid. We're waiting for the officials to drop that race flag as we see these guys get underway on a rolling start. So these drivers will want to make sure they be very careful into turn 1 with those cold tyres. We can see HC Lewis has started on the racing softs as we make our way down through the grid. Sir YC has started on the racing mediums in the Porsche. He wants to get those tyres out of the way, get onto the faster tyres towards the end and make sure he puts out some really good times. As we look here into turn 1, there is a little bit of congestion, but most of the drivers have navigated that beautifully. No incidences whatsoever turn 1 on the cold tyres. That's what we like to see here. We've got Captain Muffin in 4th. It looks like he's jumped up 1 position from the qualifying so far. A little bit of lag throughout the lobby so far. We see a couple of cars jumping left and right. Looks like Lewis is really driving away on those softs, which is what we expected to see the first couple of runners do, is to jump on the softs. We've got Sir YC on the mediums, holding up a couple of drivers behind him. That's going to frustrate those guys. They're going to need to get out and around him as quickly as they can to not wear down those softs. But don't forget, these are very cold tyres at the moment. We're going to have to build up the heat into the tyres to get that traction down so that they can actually make a move stick. HC Lewis really making a bit of a gap from 2nd place at the moment. Captain Muffin staying glued to the back of the privateer entry of Morgan Davey. As we go down through the grid, we've got Ando in 5th place for Gridline Racing. We've got Slapper's Mate in 6th in the Jaguar for WTC-Racing. We've got Rolskin Hardley there for Diffusion in 7th. Scotty is currently in 8th on the outlap. Nick Pears in 9th. Kez Audio in 10th. Aussie Hypnotic in 11th. Sir Dids in 12th. Burks Boy in 13th. GLR Scotty in 14th. And Big Bruce the Shark rounding out our race field at the moment. So as they sat from qualifying, not much has changed so far. These guys have just completed their outlap. We'll expect to see a little bit more tyre temperatures into the cars now as they start to make their way around and pick up a little bit of pace on their first flying lap. So remember, we've got 60 minutes here. It's going to be a very long race. These guys just need to stay cool, calm and collected and make sure that they can nail down some very consistent lap times. As we see HC Lewis really starting to put a gap out, using absolutely everything he can from those softs. As we can see now, Morgan Davey, the privateer, and Captain Muffin have made their way around. Sir YC he is on those medium tyres, so we'll expect to see him go faster towards the later stages of this race, while these guys will be swapping onto the mediums at some point throughout this 1 hour stint here in Germany. As we jump on board with Captain Muffin, following closely behind. It's Mercedes on Mercedes here. It's lap 2. See Captain Muffin get a little bit out of shape coming through the last couple of chicanes onto the main straight. He's still tucked right under the wing of Morgan Davey. He's not going anywhere, he's hanging on. Will he make a move into turn 1, or is he going to keep the pressure on, wait for a better opportunity? As we see both drivers heavy on the brakes making their way through turn 1. Making our way down through the field, we can see Sir YC running just a little bit wide. Not as much tyre wear, of course, because he is on those race mediums at the moment. This is keeping slappers away from him, who is on the soft, so we'll expect to see him catch up throughout this race as it goes on. We've got Ando, the second car on the grid so far, that is on the race mediums. He's heavy under pressure from Rolls. These two guys really battling it out. They've been rivals all through the Surefire V8 Supercars series, and now they're giving it to each other once again here in the GT3 series, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. This will be a battle to watch. We'll stay on with these two. We expect to see Rolls to make a move shortly. He's probably trying to save as much of his fuel and tyre as he can, hanging into the back of that slipstream from Ando. But he is on the soft, so he is going to want to try and get past Ando at some point before those tyres start to degrade, because those mediums will last a lot longer around here. We make our way up to the heavy braking zone for the final chicane. Jumping the curb, these guys will tuck the car in nice and tight to that pit lane barrier and get on with all the power on the way out, as we see Rolls sort of just comfortably cruising, I think, behind Ando. If he was pushing that car, surely he'd start to make a bit more ground with a soft burst medium, but we do know Ando in his own right is an absolutely amazingly fast driver. We'll have to wait and see how the strategies pay out for all the drivers across the grid as we go down through the field. We've got Scotty 1230 in 8th place, Pearsey in 9th, Aussie Hypnotic in 10th, Kez Audio in 11th, and Burke's Boy there for NED Racing in 12th. Gillar Scotty making his way around there in 13th for Gridline Racing. He's their pro driver in the category. Sir Dids, of course, for Swan Racing, owner and racer, with his teammate and longtime friend Nick Pearce, also racing for Strike Tech a little bit further up the field. So if we see how the teammates work together, maybe we'll be able to pick up a little bit more pace as the series goes on. And of course, Big Bruce the Shark for Diffusion Racing, making his way around in that BMW. Also on the race medium, so he's looking to get that stint done and dusted before he swaps onto his softs and continues on with his race. We are just 7 minutes into the race so far. We'll expect to see a couple of guys possibly pitting around the 10 to 12 minute mark. We'll just have to wait and see as we keep all the action live for you here on the MotorMotion YouTube page. Our race leader at the moment is HC Lewis, with a 5-second lead over second place, which is Morgan Davey, the privateer. Out of nowhere this guy's come. Fantastic to see some new drivers burst onto the scenes and having some fantastic driving so far. So quite a few new drivers that we've seen to the series that weren't in the pilot or raced in any other MotorMotion series so far. So a little bit of a wild card. Of course, they have put down their qualifying times, so pre-qualifying times, to get their ranking in the series. I will have to possibly come back to you after the race and tell you what category Morgan Davey is, because of course if he was Pro-Am he would be in the B lobby. So I think as we have just put this one together for him last minute, we don't quite have the right category on the car. But nevertheless, fantastic drive, currently in second place. And of course, Captain Muffin not too far behind. He is slightly dropping off. And as we all know, Captain Muffin is an alien in his own right. He's absolutely smashing in the TCR series. So just more credit to both HC Lewis and Morgan for being able to stay in front so far. But the race isn't over yet. We've got a long way to go. We're only 9 minutes into the 1 hour stint here in Germany in the MotorMotion GT3 series, sponsored by Player1 SimGear. As we jump on board with Sir YC. We'll go for a lap around the Nurburgring GP in the Porsche. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen, a lap around the Nurburgring GP. We were just on board with Sir YC. He's just done his 6th lap. It was a 2:04, so not the fastest lap we've seen him do. He is on the medium race tyres, probably conserving a little bit of fuel. It'll be interesting to see what strategy our drivers are doing, whether they go for the 1-stop or a 2-stop around here. So it's definitely doable to do a 1-stop, but your lap times will be affected. So we'll just have to wait and see how these guys go. So we make our way down through the field before we jump back up to our race leader. Slappers mate currently in 5th, Rolls Can Hardly in 6th, Ando in 7th. So we've seen Rolls manage to get past Ando there. Remember, they were on the battle earlier where Ando was on the medium tyres, so Rolls has decided to make use of his softs and get around his rival of Ando 787 for the Gridline Racing team. Scotty there in 8th for Black Rose Racing, and Aussie Hypnotic doing a fantastic fantastic job there in ninth for the pro drivers. That will be our gold championship. Peasy there in 10th, so we've got a couple of pro drivers ahead of a few elite drivers at the moment. Maybe something's not quite going right for him in that car, and of course the two different strategies. He is on medium tyres where some of the field did start on softs, so all these strategies will play out in the long run. We'll just have to wait and see where everyone ends up at the end of the day. Kez Audio in 11th, Burke's Boy there in 12th for NED Racing, GLR Scotty for Gridline Racing in 13th place, and Sir Dids in 14th for Strike Team, with Big Bruce rounding out our field for Diffusion Racing. As we jump back to our race leader, HC Lewis, absolutely flying around in that Aston Martin, but how much longer can he do it? As we look at the wear on those tyres, he's used about half of the available tyres so far. We'll start to see those tyres starting to give him a little bit of grief in the next lap or two, that's for sure. Will he be able to hang on before he needs to pit in? Like we said, it will probably be around the 10 to 12 lap mark. We would expect to see some of these guys in for sure. If they push it out to 15, well then there's your one stop, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's going to depend on the tyres as well. So HC Lewis has opened that gap up to Morgan just ever so slightly. He was 5 seconds ahead, now he's more closer to 7. Morgan Davey, the privateer, taking everyone by surprise. Having a fantastic drive. Similar wear on the softs. So I think these tyres will probably only be good for about 11 laps, but we'll have to wait and see. They'll probably get quite a few more than 11, but I'd say after 11 they're gonna really drop off. It's gonna be really hard to keep those lap times consistent, and consistency is gonna be absolute key here today, making sure that you can keep that car on the black stuff for 1 hour straight with no mistakes. Pressure is on here in the GT3 Championship by MotorMotion. So Captain Muffin making his way into camera. A lot more tyre wear than his competitors at the moment. So he's been really pushing, trying to get some extra pace out of that car. So we see him jumping the curbs, using all the track that he can. Whoop, as we see first of our drivers making it way down pit lane right now. Whoop. Here we go. So Captain Muffin is the first pitter of the night. He'll be possibly chucking on the mediums. Will he go another set on the softs? We'll stay on board and we'll wait and see. It's about a 30-second window to get to the pit lane. As we see those worn softs coming off. Yes, and he has. He's grabbed the mediums. So he's now got his mandatory tyre on the car. He will be able to go to the end of the race. So our first pitter so far is Captain Muffin. To see where that brings him out after all the rest of the field does pit. See if his strategy works for him. So he did 8 laps on the softs, so he'll have to have a long stint on these mediums, I think, to be able to get another shorter stint on the softs of the 8 laps or so towards the end. We'll just have to wait and see as we go back to our race leader, HC Lewis, now with similar tyre wear as what we saw on Captain Muffin before he came into the pits. Makes his way around the chicane. Is he coming in or is he going again? He's going again, so he's going to do 10 laps at least on these softs. I don't know if he'll push much further than that, but who knows? Of course, Morgan Davey not far behind, really. 7 seconds. It's it's a bit of a gap, but for the privateer straight into this, I'm not sure how much practice he's done, but he's a very quick driver. I'd have to say, at a best guess, I'd have to say he's a privateer in the elite series so far. Fantastic job. Ando into the pits now, getting rid of his mediums. Sir YC. Wow, look at the difference in comparison of the wear. So those mediums obviously going to last a lot longer than the softs. He's only got about a quarter wear. Based on his fuel with half a tank, I'd say he is going for the one-stop strategy. So he'll go to lap 15 and put some more fuel in and then go to the end. So we'll have to wait and see how that works out for him. The Porsche seems to be by far the best on fuel so far. Down through the field, see quite a few of these cars have got some very heavy wear on their tyres. Have to wait and see if some of these guys that started on the mediums that have slowly been dropping down the field managed to do a really good overlap of that first stint. We'll just have to wait and see. We see Pearsey starting on those mediums up into 8th place now. Doing fantastic for Strike Team Racing. GLR Scotty managed to save his tyres quite well. Probably the best tyre wear that we've seen, unless he's pit already. We'll have to stay with that. Of course, Kes Audio also on the mediums. Dids on the mediums to start as well. Ando has already swapped off. Berserk Boy will still need to come in for his set at some point in time, unless he started on them. I believe he did actually, and of course Bruce did also. So most of the field so far has used that mandatory tyre, either started on or swapping to it now. So these guys are making sure they get that tyre out of the way so that they can stay as fast as they can, keep this race as exciting as possible. So we've seen a change in our race leader. Sir YC, now the effective race leader. He started on the mediums. He's had excellent car control and tyre wear so far, really pushing that car for fuel as well. We're going to see him do the one-stopper. That's my money's on that. We won't see him come in until at least lap 15. So Will saving that extra pit stop give him an advantage over HC Lewis. They were very close in the times when they were on the soft, so we'll just have to wait and see where it all comes out at the end of this race. Rolskan Hardley's made his way up to 2nd place through all the pit stops and changes. He will need to pit very soon though, so while he's made a lot of ground up, caught up to the back of Sir YC, he's not going to be able to stay out as long as him with the wear on those tyres at this point in time. So as we go down through the grid, HC Lewis back out. He will move into 2nd place when Rolls goes into the pits. He's got a bit of work to do to catch up to Sir YC. He will have another pit stop before the end of this race to put on those mandatory medium tyres, because remember we saw him start on the racing softs. He's gone in for his 2nd stint on the racing softs, so he will end this race on the mediums. So as long as he can catch up and get back past Sir YC, hopefully before lap 15 or very close after it, otherwise he's going to have a lot of work to do in the tail end of this race. As we go down through the grid, we've got GLR Scotty on his mediums, also yet to pit as we talk about it. He's on his way in right now, so he's not doing the one-stopper in the Merc. He's done his 11 laps, and he's coming in for his softs. Morgan Davey now on the control tyre, the racing medium, the mandatory tyre. Looking to do an extended stint on those, I would say, before moving on to the softs to finish off his race. Captain Muffin, similar strategy with Pearsey all over the back of him. Pearsey's yet to pit, so he's still going around on lap 12 on the mediums that he started with. Just quite a really good fuel save that he's managed to do as well. So Pearsey's definitely also going for that one stop similar to Sir YC. It's going to be very interesting to see how these two strategies play off against each other, whether one stop is going to help or whether the two stop with the faster times with the softs is going to be the winning strategy. Remember, the fueling rate here is about 8 litres a second, so it's a very quick splash and dash through the pits. They're not really held up as long, so whether it's worth going in and grabbing that extra set of softs, putting down some faster times, or sticking it out on the mediums. It's going to be a very close race by the end of the night. As we make our way down through the grid, Slapper's mates in 6th place for WTC-Racing, Ando in 7th for Gridline. We've got Kez Audio for Scarborough Motorsport, Rolls Can Hardly for Diffusion, Sir Dids for Strike Team Racing, and we've got Scotty 2030 for Black Rose in 11th place, Aussie Hypnotic in 12th, Berserk Boy in 13th, GLS Scuddy in 14th, and Big Brewster Shark still making his way around. He's not too far off the back of Scotty, so he's made up quite a bit of ground from the start. He's already used that control tyre. He's done his stint on the racing mediums. He's now going to push this car as fast as he can for the next 2 stints that he's going to have out on track to try and get past as many cars as he can to do well for the Diffusion Racing team. As we move back to our race leader, you can see he's got a 10-second gap on HC Lewis, so the strategy's paid off. He's managed to get quite a gap on HC Lewis. He's going to have his work cut out for him. As we can see, that time is dramatically going down, so HC Lewis is really pushing his car. We see he does have the fastest lap time so far of a 153.796. So anything could happen. We've got the cheer squads in the chat at the moment, all screaming for Sir YC. He's doing a fantastic job for Scarborough Motorsport right now. We are now 25 minutes into this 1 hour race, finishing the lap 13. Our current race leader, Sir YC, pushing that Porsche as hard as he can. As we can see HC Lewis in the background, he's not going to let this go. He's going to push as hard as he can to make up ground with a new fastest lap with a 153.7. He's going to really work hard to get that car back up onto the back of him. He's going for a 3-stop, where Sir YC is doing the 1-stop strategy. Sirik, sorry, I'm pronouncing the name wrong. I do apologise. Sirik. My apologies, mate. I have been getting your name wrong so far. That's my bad. Expect to see another 2 laps from him here in first place. Will he be able to hold off HC Lewis before that pit? Or is HC Lewis going to make up the ground? Absolutely flying, 53s, that's qualifying times. So he's really pushing that car. We've got Sirik currently doing 56s quite consistently. So some really good lap times. Really good lap times from the Porsche. We did think it was going to be strong here. Just have to wait and see where he does end up. So we go down through the grid. We've got HC Lewis on an absolute mission trying to catch that first place. He wants to get back in front before that pit stop. Got another lap to make up some ground. Morgan Davey, our privateer, in 3rd place. And Captain Muffin for Black Rose Racing in 4th. We are getting closer and closer to the halfway mark. These guys are driving a lot faster than we expected. We were expecting to see halfway mark to be about 15 laps. So we will see possibly the completion of 15 laps, not the start. So an extra lap ahead, which should put this race out to be about 31 laps. It's going to be a really interesting battle as we approach the halfway mark of this round 1 series so far. We've got Slapper's mate, 117 in 5th place. Ando in 6th. Pearsey making his way up the field. just ever so slightly there in 7th place for Strike Team Racing. Rolls there in 8th. Is he looking to make the move on Pearsey down into turn 1? I don't think he's quite close enough. Oh, I've spoken too soon. He's made the move work. Keeps the apex nice and tight. Wow, that's some good close racing. As we see Rolls get all sorts of sideways, but he manages to hold it. Well done. What a fantastic driver to catch that. As we continue to go down through the field. Pearsey 23 in 8th place for Strike Team Racing. Those tyres looking mighty tired. We'll expect to see him at the end of this lap to get another set and a full tank of fuel just to make it around for the second stint. Doing that one-stop strategy. So as we see, a lot of the other drivers will have to do another pit stop. He's going to continue to the end after the end of this next pit window. So when this lap ends, he's going to go into the pits, get himself all ready, and then race to the end. That is my belief, unless he cops some damage and needs to come in for repairs. Kes Audio in 9th for Scarborough Motorsport. We've got NED Racing for Strike Team in 10th place. Scotty in 11th. Aussie Hypnotic there in 12th place. Berksy Boy hot on his tail there in 13th. And GLR Scotty with his race mediums now on the car. I believe that's all the drivers that have now put on their required tyre except for HC Lewis, who's done 2 softs so far and no mediums. So we'll see that towards the end of the race for him. Hopefully he can get far enough ahead of Sirik to get himself a decent gap once he goes in at the end of this lap. And Big Bruce the Shark doing a fantastic job there for Diffusion Racing, trying to keep up with these absolute demons on track. As we move back to our race leader, Sirik getting low on the fuel now. Some very good tyre saving. Only half used those mediums on he's gone for 16 laps. So this is the one-stop strategy versus the two-stop. Remember, Lewis still needs to come in for those medium tyres, so anything could happen at this point in time. Sirik is doing a fantastic job for Scarborough Motorsport in that Porsche, really pushing it out at the end of 16 laps before he comes in for his first refuel. I do believe this is Xavier's first appearance in a MotorMotion series so far, so a great pickup by the Scarborough Motorsport team. He's up at the pointy end of the field. We'll have to see where he comes out at the end of his pit. Hopefully this strategy works for him. As we called it, into the pits now. He's going to need some bang water, a new set of kicks. I believe he's probably going to end up with another set of mediums, so 2 stints on mediums to set out to the end. Makes his way down pit lane. He's got a bit of a gap on Morgan Davey, the next car back. As he goes past the pit lane now. Captain Muffin also making his way. Ando and Slapper's Mate as well, which is going to bring Sirik out, possibly behind Slapper's Mate. Comes out of the pits, does Rolls get past? He does. So at the moment, that's going to put Sirik into 7th place. He's going to be able to drive to, or is he? Is he going to be able to drive to the end? He's put on some softs. So will he be able to keep those softs all the way to the end, or is he going to have to stop for another set of tyres? He does have a full tank of fuel, so it makes me think he wants to get all the way to the end, but will he be able to make those tyres last on the Porsche for the remainder of this race? We're just approached the halfway mark. We saw he had probably about 3/4 wear on those mediums. I really don't think he's going to be able to make that set of softs last, so we'll have to just wait and see where he ends up with his strategy. Fantastic driving from him so far as we make our way back up to our race leader at the halfway mark. We've got HC Lewis back into the lead. Massive gap from himself to Morgan Davey. He's only got about a quarter of fuel remaining though, so like we said, he will need to pit once again to put those mediums on. He'll do a long stint at the end once he comes in for his final fuel and tyres. That will be the last we see of him in pit lane. Making his way around turns 1 and 2. This is all going to be corner after corner. This is something that you need to get right to get a very fast time down. So we've seen all of these guys absolutely blitz the qualifying session, and so far in this race, every driver has put down some really impressive lap times so far. As we see Slappers run a little bit wide in the background there. Ando having a fantastic drive in 3rd place. Sorry, 4th place. But Slappers, the first. Sorry, no, he's not. He's the elite driver. It's a little bit hard to see some of these stickers from here. Just trying to find the first of our pro drivers, which will be Scotty 1230. So for Black Rose Racing, that effectively will put him in 1st place in the Gold Championship for the pro drivers. Currently in 8th, which will put him ahead of a couple of elite drivers, which should earn him some extra bonus points as well. So well done to Scotty. Keep it up, mate. We're just over the halfway mark. We've got a lot to go, so make sure you keep that car neat and tidy on the black stuff. Head down and we'll see where you end up by the end of this race. Aussie in 2nd for the pro drivers in that Gold Championship, followed by GLR Scotty and Burksboy in 4th place in the Pro Driver Series Championship, I should say. Bruce into 5th, Kez Audio into 6th, and Pearsy, one of the elite drivers, down the field a little bit further behind some of the pros. So all of those drivers will be getting a couple of extra points going their way as we see Sir Dids, the teammate, rounding out the field. Something not quite right with the Strike Team Mercedes at this point in time. We'll have to see whether it's part of their strategy. Maybe they'll jump some spots towards the end. As we see both of these guys with a fair bit of fuel and some new tyres. So anything could happen here as we see Bruce making his way into pit lane, possibly to grab another set of wheels and a bit of fuel. Moving back to our race leader, who will be in shortly. I'd say maybe another lap, or yeah, just probably another lap, possibly 2 if he can stretch out the fuel, but we'll just have to wait and see. Move down to Morgan Davey in 2nd. Out of nowhere this guy's come. Privateer for the series, just absolutely smashing it. So well done. We see Ando make a move on Captain Muffin. Oh wow, glad we caught that there, ladies and gentlemen. What a move, Ando. Well done. Into the corner. Some heavy wear on those softs, but he's made the car stick. Quick little flash of the hazards there to let him know. What a drive. So that's the difference between the softs and the mediums. A little bit of extra grip through the corners, a little bit of extra speed. So we see Captain Muffin doing the best to hang on to the back of Ando while he's using those mediums. Wants to tuck in and use as much slipstream as he can. Doesn't want to lose too much time. Wants to keep those positions as close as he can. Moving down, we've got Slappers looking ready to get into this action as well. Got a BMW, Merc and a Jag very close to each other. The field's been pretty compressed so far throughout the race. What are your thoughts, viewers? Who do we think is going to win today? Do we think HC Lewis has it in the bag, or is Ciric going to make up a bunch of ground with his one-stop strategy as we see the rest of the drivers come into the pits? Will he be able to make those softs last? That's my question. He did have excellent tyre wear on those mediums to get those 16 laps done, but will he be able to do the same with the softs? 14 laps on a pair of softs, that's an ask, but if anyone can do it, it's definitely Ciric. And we've just caught Rolls grab a little bit of grass and spin the car. So he gets that car back straight. We've just captured that for you. He absolutely lit up the rears to get that car spun around and back into the action. We see HC Lewis, our race leader, coming into the pits. He's going to need another set of tyres and fuel to get to the end. We're expecting another 11 laps to go. We're just approaching the 39-minute mark here in the MotorMotion GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. Scotty trying to take as much advantage as he can, catching up onto the back of Rolls, who has had a spin. We make our way up the field now. We can see Ciric battling to take 4th place. Really putting some pressure on the Slappers, mate, who is on the medium. So now the shoe's on the other foot. Ciric said, I've done 16 laps on mediums. I'm now on the softs. I'm going to give it everything I've got. So he's going to have to work hard to get past this line of cars in front of him. See HC Lewis there in 3rd. Ciric's really going to want to put some pressure on to get on the back of HC Lewis, who's now on his racing medium. So we should see him on that until the end of the race now. So Ciric's going to really need to apply some pressure, get past Slappers, mate, and get onto the back of HC Lewis. These two guys are going to be really battling it out for the race here. As we know, Captain Muffin is going to need to pit. Also, Morgan Davey is going to be coming in right now, just about out of fuel. So the race lead is going to come back to HC Lewis. If Muffin pits, no, I think Muffin's going to go for another lap. So Muffin, our race leader, effectively, by the end of this lap. No, he's into the pits. So there we go. HC Lewis is back now into the lead with Ciric not far behind. Now he's on the soft, so this is the battle to watch. This will be for 1st and 2nd place. These guys both have enough to get to the end, where the rest of the field now is starting to complete their final pit stops. For anyone just tuning in, this is the MotorMotion Player1 GT3 Championship. We are at round 1, Nurburgring GP, in a 60-minute endurance race. We've currently just hit the 40-minute mark, so there's just 20 minutes remaining, or 18 minutes if you want to be precise. We're on the Group A lobby of elite and pro drivers, as we are now currently watching the battle for the lead. HC Lewis, enough fuel and tyres here to get to the end of the race. Ciric with his one-stop strategy on the racing softs now for the 14 laps from his first pit stop that he'll need to complete to get to the end of this race. So will the difference in the tyre be enough for him to catch on to the back of HC Lewis and take the lead? It's NED Racing versus Scarborough Motorsport for the 1-2 here in the MotorMotion GT3 series, sponsored by Player1. Moving down into third, this is where we've got the second battle happening. Morgan Davey and Rolls Can Hardly. Rolls really pushing that car to get up to the back, but he is still needing to do his final pit stop. So Morgan is going to have a massive gap to the next effective driver. He's pretty well secured third unless something major happens. He's having a fantastic drive for his first day out with the MotorMotion series. As we move back to Ando, who's going to have enough to get to the end. So the rivalry between Rolls and Ando will continue. Will Rolls have enough of a gap between himself and Ando's to get the fuel in and keep that lead, or will Ando effectively jump him once he goes into the pits by the end of this lap? We'll just have to wait and see. We've got Captain Muffin in 6th place, Slappers in 7th, Scotty 1230 in 8th place, the first of our pro drivers. Kez Audio in 9th, Pearsy in 10th, Sir Dids in 11th, GLR Scotty in 12th. We've got Aussie Hypnotic coming out of the pits in 13th, just to be overtaken by Burke's Boy and Bruce the Shark. Oh, they've managed to make it through side by side. That was close. BMW be a little bit taily, as we did see Rolls have a big spin, so that will affect whether he'll be able to stay in front of Ando or not as well. We did catch that, happened a little bit earlier. We move back to our race leaders at the moment. HC Lewis holding off Cyric. He's got about a 2-second gap between himself and second place. The Scarborough Motorsport Porsche is doing everything it can to keep up. He's hungry. He's going to try everything he can to keep that Porsche in contention for the lead. There was hardly anything between these two in qualifying. And even now, well, we've got 15 minutes remaining of this race here in round 1. It's coming right down to the wire for first and second place between NED Racing and Scarborough Motorsport. See Morgan Davey running purple. The privateer looking to really stick it to Lewis. Wants to take that fastest lap away from him. Will he be able to do it? Let's stay on board for the rest of this lap. See if he can make it happen. Be a dream come true for the privateer. He's 200th up on the fastest lap so far. Into the final chicane, heavy braking zone. You want to get that car turned in, use all of the available road, pinch the car in as close as you can to that pit wall, and really heavy onto the power early, get maximum speed on the exit. It looks like he's done everything right, and he's done it. He's taken the fastest lap. The privateer, wow, really pushing that Merc, letting the guys know, hey, I might not be in a team, but I will be next season, that's for sure. He'll be one to keep an eye on throughout this series. I'm sure he'll be snapped up by a team after his performance so far in his first outing. What a fantastic drive by Morgan Davey. turbo kicking in on that BMW, the blow-off valve making an absolutely amazing noise there in the Gridline Racing car of Ando 787, currently in 4th place. He's got a bit of a gap to catch up to Morgan Davey, that's for sure. But anything could happen. We've still got 12 minutes remaining in this race at round 1 in Germany, the Nurburgring GP. Oh, big slide from Captain Muffin coming out of those last final chicanes. It's going to cost him a little bit of time. He's got a bit of a gap back down to the next competitor, which is Slapper's mate, 117. 6th place in that Jag. Very stable car that. It's going to be a very good all-round car for the entire series. See those brake discs absolutely glowing into turn 1, the heaviest braking zone of the entire track. You've got to pull that car up from its absolute maximum speed around here, set it up, and then come into all of the following turns. You've got to make sure you get it right at the start, otherwise the flow-on effect through all the corners is going to affect your lap time. As he seems to have got that absolutely right, pushing the car as fast as he can out of those couple of corners there. Still not up on his best time so far. As we move down to Rolls, he's unfortunately had a bit of a spin, dropped himself down the order, but he will be able to see himself out through to the end of this race now. Hopefully he can pick up a little bit of time, whether he'll be able to make some positions if someone else makes a mistake. We'll just have to stay on board as we see he makes his best sector so far. Unfortunately pushing that car a little bit wide. He's picking up a half-second penalty, which has got to hurt. Scotty for Black Rose Racing, pro driver in the Gold Championship. I believe he's the first of our pro drivers so far. So fantastic news for the Black Rose team as we see those brakes just absolutely glowing. It looks fantastic on those Mercedes. What a brilliant livery these guys have done as well. Only 10 minutes remaining now. Getting down to the pointy end as we go down through the field. We've got Pearsey really pushing those softs to the end of their life. He's probably going to have to come in before those things absolutely explode. He's got enough fuel to get to the end. Will he just push on, or will he have to come back in? As we see Kez Audio making his way around his teammate of Sir Dids there. So Kez up into 10th, Sir Dids in 11th. Aussie Hypnotic in 12th place. GLR Scotty in 13th. Big Bruce up in a 14th. And Burke's Boys had an incident at some point, and he's back down to the tail end of our field in 15th place. He's on his mandatory tyre now, the medium. So similar strategy to HC Lewis with the 2 stints of softs at the start and the mediums at the end. So he's going to have to work hard to make up some ground. But his teammate absolutely putting a show on, really driving the wheels off this Aston Martin. Looks to have been making a little bit of a gap from Cyric at the moment. Not too far behind in the Porsche, but those softs are really starting to wear, especially on the rear. We've still got another 8 minutes remaining, so we'll have at least another 4 or 5 laps to go. And we can see Morgan, out of nowhere, made up a bunch of ground. He's got much healthier tyres too, so it's not over yet. Morgan might be able to move himself up onto the back of Cyric in the next couple of laps. see he's really gaining on the Scarborough Motorsport entry in that Porsche. Those rear tyres are really starting to hurt him. Wonder if it was a mistake to put the softs on, whether he meant to go the mediums for that one-stop strategy, or whether he thought he could push them out. But now he's going to come under all sorts of trouble from Morgan towards the tail end of this race. We've only got a few more laps to go. It's getting very exciting towards the end. Hopefully he can hold on. He's been doing a fantastic job so far. H.C. Lewis, currently our race leader, comfortably moving around on those mediums at the moment. Only about a quarter where he's got enough fuel to get to the end. We've got 6 minutes remaining of round one of the MotorMotion Player1 GT Championship. Wow, it is all happening. Of course, Player1 Sim Gear is our sponsor, and they hope that you like their website, which is www.p1simgear.com.au. Please provide any feedback and let them know if there's any gear that you want that they don't currently stock, and they will do their best to go out and find it for you. At Player1, they're passionate about giving back and supporting the local flight and racing communities that make this hobby so rewarding for all of us. We're now on to lap 29, our race leader, H.C. Lewis, starting to get a bit more of a gap from Sirik. Sirik's rear tyres are really starting to hurt him, which is getting him under pressure from Morgan Davey, the privateer, the man that's come from nowhere, really putting on a show in that Mercedes. He's got the fastest lap so far tonight. He's really given it his all. He's putting the pressure on to the Scarborough Motorsport team. He wants to take that second place. And of course, we've got Ando a little bit further back, but he's in fourth. So will he be able to capitalise enough? We've only got 5 minutes remaining. Will he be able to capitalise enough to get himself up into a podium position? Stranger things have happened. We've seen drivers spin out on the last lap previously, so as long as he can keep this car on the black stuff and his head down, he's still in with a chance. For the Gridline Racing team, Captain Muffin currently in 5th place, Slappers in 6th, Rolls Can Hardly in 7th place, and Scotty, the first of our pro drivers, in 8th place. Kez Audio, fair bit of a gap back, so Scotty's doing fantastic at the moment. Fastest pro driver out there. Kez is currently in 2nd in the pro driver category, which is the Gold Championship, and Sir did. So that's 2 pro drivers ahead of a couple of, sorry, 3 pro drivers ahead of a elite at the moment. So these guys are having an absolutely fantastic drive on the field. Pearsey just hasn't managed to make it stick, and now we can see why. Those front tyres are effectively gone. He's really pushed that car, trying to stretch out the tyres a little bit too far, and that's going to really affect his lap times. As we can see there, his previous lap was a 2:01 versus the 1:57s that he's been doing all race, so that's going to hurt him. That'll put him under pressure from Aussie Hypnotic, currently with a half-second penalty to burn. GLR Scotty in 13th. He's also going to take advantage before the end of this race. Big Bruce the Shark in 14th, followed very closely by Burke's Boy. Rounding out our field tonight. Bit of a close battle at the end of the pack here, but it's not over. We've still got a few more minutes remaining in this race of round one. H.C. Lewis out front, making that gap ever so bigger, lap after lap. Comfortably walking away from the field. Sirik, wow, getting all sorts of sideways, coming under pressure from Morgan. We said those tyres were going, and now they're absolutely gone. We've seen now that the tyres are pretty much blown out. The car's gone absolutely sideways. He's done a fantastic job to hold it, but that pushes Morgan Davey up into 2nd place. What a fantastic drive from the privateer, getting ahead of the team so far. He's moved up into 2nd place. Sirik, of course, was 2nd in qualifying. His strategy just hasn't paid off with that 2nd stint on the softs. Possibly should have pressed the mediums. Maybe it was a mistake. Oh, as we see, the car is really struggling now. Oh, and he's lost it. He's got enough time to get this car back onto the road before the next bit of traffic, as we see the sparks flying out from underneath that car. It's very unfortunate, but once the tyres start to go on these, they are almost impossible to drive. What a shame. That was almost a fairy tale for Scarborough Motorsport. The one-stop strategy just hasn't quite paid off. Ando now, as we said, if those tyres went, he might even be able to get himself in contention for a podium. So here we go, it's not over yet. We've still got 2 minutes remaining. So whether this goes to 31 laps or 32 is all going to depend on how fast Lewis can get around this final lap here. Wow, it's all happening. Sirik doing everything he can to hold on to third. I don't think he's going to have enough time to hold off Ando with these tyres now. Absolutely giving him grief. Ando sees the opportunity. He's made a bunch of time. He's now going to keep his head down and push that car. He's going to get that podium. He's going to take it away from Scarborough Motorsport. That'll put Gridline Racing onto the podium. The team boss will be very happy with him. So we jump on board with Ando as he hunts down Sirik. Got our race coming to an end now as well. And that's it. That's the 1 hour mark. So we move up to our race leader, HC Lewis. He's going to make his way across the line. He didn't quite have enough in it to get it up to the 32 laps. We're going to finish on lap 31. Round 1, our race winner, HC Lewis for NED Racing across the line. Congratulations, mate. Well done. We've got Morgan Davey now in second place, the privateer, putting on a show for his fans across the line. Ando's done it. He's made the move past Sirik. So has Captain Muffin. So Ando is going to get a podium finish. That's a fairy tale ending for Gridline. We thought Scarborough Motorsport had it in the bag. Ando now in third place. Fantastic drive. Captain Muffin coming around for Black Rose Racing in fourth in that beautiful Mercedes. Sirik really battling to hold off Slappers across the final straight. Oh, super close, but he makes it. Slappers in sixth. Rolls can hardly had that big spin as he drifts the final corner. He's happy with 7th place. He's done well to come back from that slight mistake. Scotty 12:30, our first of the pro races so far in that Gold Championship. Across the line in 8th overall, with some bonus points going his way for being ahead of a couple of elite drivers. Wow, what a finish that was. So we've seen Scotty across the line in first place for the pro drivers. Kez Audio now will effectively be second in his lobby. Aussie Hypnotic coming across the line in 10th place. Sir Dids in 11th. Pearsey, unfortunately, struggling even more than Sirik with those tyres. Lost quite a few positions towards the end. Coming across the line in 12th. GLR Scotty in 13th place for Gridline Racing, the team owner. He's going to be really happy with his teammate Ando making his way up onto the podium. And of course we've got Big Bruce the Shark and Burks Boy rounding out our field today. What a fantastic race, ladies and gentlemen. That was amazing. Our race winner, HC Lewis for NED Racing. What a fantastic drive. The man on pole, the man on a mission. And wow, he's got it done today. He's managed to finish off in first place. What a fantastic drive. Thank you to all of our drivers tonight. Of course, we will go through those results for you one last time. We've got HC Lewis taking away round 1 with maximum points. Morgan Davey, the privateer, in second place with the fastest lap of the night with a 153.538. We've got Ando up into third place. Captain Muffin takes out fourth. Sirik, unfortunate end to that stint. Just couldn't make the softs last on those remaining 2 laps into 5th place. Still a fantastic drive in the Elite Championship there. Sorry, the Platinum Championship with the Elite drivers. We've got Slapper's Mate in 6th place. 7th place goes to Rolls Can Hardly. 8th place, Scotty 1230. 9th is Kez Audio. 10th, Aussie Hypnotic. 11th, Sir Dids. 12th, Pearsy. 13th, GLR Scotty. 14th, Big Bruce the Shark. And rounding out the field is Burks Boy. So we've had a first and last for NED Racing. They will be very happy with that race win. So we've got NED Racing taking out first point championship points there. The Privateer grabbing 2nd place championship points, and Gridline Racing for 3rd place in the Platinum Championship. Wow, what a fantastic drive from everyone tonight. We'd like to thank our sponsors, which is Player1 Sim Gear. They were created by sim enthusiasts for sim enthusiasts. They're a Melbourne-based and 100% Australian-owned and operated. When they launched Player One, they set out to create an online destination for racers, flight simmers, and not to mention sim farmers, sim space pilots, sim truckers, and all other kinds of sim fans. To shop for all the best hardware brands at the best price, they hope you like their website, which is www.p1simgear.com.au. Make sure you jump on there. If there's anything that you can't find, make sure you provide them with the feedback and let them know, because they will do their best to actually go out and find it for you. How fantastic is that? At Player One, they're so passionate about giving back and supporting the local flight and racing communities that they make this hobby so rewarding for all of us. And of course, they are the proud and official sponsors of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Thank you all tonight. I have been your commentator, Joel Austin. Made a couple of mistakes there throughout the call, but hopefully you guys all enjoyed. So thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you check in the description for all of the information for the rest of the series. Of course, we will be back for round 2 on the 28th of March, which is at Autodrome Nazialia, Monza. So round 2, Monza on the 28th of March. Now, before I go, I do need to pick my driver of the day. I'm going to have to say that was actually probably for me, Morgan Davey. The man that's come out of nowhere, the privateer, driving around in the Mercedes AMG with the fastest lap of the night. Now, that's on par with what I believe the pole was. So a 153.5, absolutely flying. This guy is going to have a lot of teams looking at him closely throughout the remainder of this season. So very well done, mate. You get my driver of the day in the A lobby. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Like I said, the B lobby stream will be posted up tomorrow night, so make sure you like and follow the channel. We will be uploading the other lobbies race if you didn't get to see it live later tomorrow, so make sure you tune in and watch that as well. Thank you from me. It's been fantastic. Catch you next time.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player One Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player One Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series. Level up your sim racing experience with Player One Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player One Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.